This Aries eclipse is heralding the end of one thing and the beginning of another. This eclipse is the final in the Aries Libra series. The nodes have already moved on into Pisces, and we have a pileup of planets 15 degrees apart, spanning 24 degrees of Pisces to 9 degrees of Aries, where this eclipse is happening. The retrogrades, subsequent nodal conjunctions that are happening, this eclipse is going to feel awkward, strange, and maybe even a little nebulous. That because this Aries eclipse is at 9 degrees and Saturn is at 24 degrees of Pisces, this is a 15-degree separation. In between Saturn and this eclipse, we have Neptune, we have the North Node, we have Venus, and we have Mercury. Neptune is at 29 degrees and it will enter the next day into Aries. Mercury is at 0 degrees of Aries. Just after this eclipse, it will be entering Pisces. So what all this means is that we have a mashup of planets, a superstellium, if you will, in a very concentrated area of the sky. This is going to be a major reality check with Saturn involved, with the North Node, Venus, and Mercury all conjunct within just a couple of degrees of each other. This is going to feel very strange, and it could cause heated arguments or disputes. The eclipse itself is one of pioneering forward because this is a North Node eclipse. However, because of all of these planets spanning the beginning of Aries and the end of Pisces, it's going to feel really strange. This compressed configuration is going to intensify in pressure, and it's going to be forcing us to resolve unresolved themes that are coming to the surface. What emerges after this eclipse may not be what people expect, but it could be the wake-up call that we all need in our lives, in the world, for the reality check. Speaking of reality checks, Saturn is the major reality check in this equation. Saturn is at 24 degrees, moving towards the North Node. Our collective hopes, our fears, our aspirations, right? Pisces is a sign of dreamers. It's a sign of artists. It's a sign of transcendence from all things. Saturn is a limiting influence. It is hard, concrete boundaries that we come up against, that we face in our lives. This combination, aligned with the North Node, Venus retrograde, and Mercury retrograde, is one of reevaluating where we feel stifled, where we feel limited, and how we're communicating with those that we truly care for, or reevaluating our own personal boundaries and where we need to shore them up and get rid of the people, places, and things to have the finances, to have the relationships, to have the things that we want in this life. The North Node brings in a very fated, very karmic connection here. Now, with Venus, Neptune, and Mercury all being in tight conjunction, Mercury is at 0 degrees of Aries, regressing back into Pisces just hours after this eclipse. Neptune is moving into Aries the following day. So there is this change that's happening. There's this confusion that's happening. There's these conversations that can be had that we're rehashing from several weeks ago, several months ago, whatever the case may be, but we're ending something to start over. With Neptune entering Aries, this is bringing in the disillusionment of what it is that we have been avoiding taking action on. That's what's happening with this eclipse. And that's what's happening with Neptune moving into Aries. This eclipse in Aries specifically is the final one on the Libra Aries axis. We will not have another eclipse here in this area of the sky for another 9 years. But then it will be a South Node eclipse. We will not have a North Node eclipse for another 18 years in the sign of Aries. This being said, this is a time to finalize, to move forward bravely where we can, With Mars in Cancer, now direct and moving forward, we can take action on protecting the people that we truly care for, on taking action on going to the places that feel like home, or cutting away people that are toxic for us. With this eclipse and with the subsequent planets in Aries, Pisces, Mars over in Cancer, this is about war and peace. Venus is in her exalted state in the sign of Pisces. Yes, she's retrograde, but still, she is exalted. We're reevaluating the things that we want to pull in, the people that we want to connect to, and how we want to connect to them. Mars in Cancer with this, and I say war and peace because Mars is a planet of war. It's a planet of action. It's a planet of willpower, of independence, of sovereignty, of doing your own thing, right? So is Aries. Mars and Aries share that. Know when to wield your power gently versus when to push forward assertively or aggressively. With Mars in Cancer, that's not always possible. We might not always be able to take the action that we want to take or be as aggressive as we want to be. That's not always a bad thing. So with this, and especially with Mars in Cancer, speak softly, carry a big stick. For Aries and for Aries rising, this eclipse is happening in your first house. There have been things that you have wanted to do. There have been changes that you have wanted to make. You have been releasing old, outdated relationships. And perhaps now, with Venus being retrograde in the sign just above you in your 12th house, this is a time to release, let go of a relationship, or to reconnect with someone that you've had a relationship to, that you truly desire to reconnect with. This is also a time to be reevaluating your monetary situation and communicating with people, places, establishments, banks, even behind the scenes without speaking to other people about it. And it's not a public thing. This is private. You're speaking to institutions that are behind the scenes, right? This could be hospitals, this could be ashrams, this could be a yoga retreat that you're working on. This could be taking a vacation to a far off place that is very different from you, and you feel that you might not speak the same language as the people there, but it's something that you're working on doing. This eclipse in your first house is for you to have a new beginning here. So for Taurus and for Taurus rising, the eclipse is happening in your 12th house. This could see you having new beginnings in terms of your sleep, the amount of sleep that you're getting. It's been a turbulent schedule for you, Taurus, just because you have had the nodes going in your 12th and in your 6th house for the last couple of years. Your work, your routines, the things that you're doing every day and the rest that you're getting have been really spotty at best. It's probably been really turbulent. This 12th house, where the eclipse is happening, this could be connecting with your spirituality in a different way. You could be bringing in whole groups of new people with all of these planets that are also in Pisces, Saturn, the North Node, Venus, and then Mercury. So for this eclipse, yes, it's happening in your 12th house, but you could be surrounding yourself with people and connecting with people that have very similar spiritual ideologies as you do. This could be bringing in new friends as well. That's also a thing here. This could also be a new beginning in terms of your sleep pattern, how you're taking care of yourself, how you're resting. This could be new meditation practices, new spiritual practices, all of these types of things. For Gemini and for Gemini rising, the eclipse is happening in your 11th house. So this eclipse is bringing in new people, new groups, new ways of connecting with like-minded individuals, as well as it relates to whole groups of people. Your social network is getting an overhaul. It has been for the last couple of years. But with this final eclipse that's happening and the subsequent planets that are in your 10th house, you could be connecting with a boss, or you could be connecting with someone in a position of authority as it relates to friend groups or even social media. You could be reconnecting with, right, other people, because Mercury, your chart ruler, is at 0 degrees of Aries, which is the 11th house, connected to Neptune and Venus at 29 and 28 degrees. This being said, this could definitely see connecting with people that are either at a distance from you or connecting with your own sense of purpose and being your own authority as well. For Cancer and for Cancer rising, this eclipse is happening in your 10th house. So the change here is your public identity, how you're known out in the world. Are you getting married? Are you getting divorced? Are you changing jobs? Are you going from one industry to another, right? In your career, the stellium that's happening in your 9th house that's also a part of this can mean that you're moving, that you're going to a different place, that you are deciding to take more in terms of education for the new career that you want to have, or becoming the authority on what it is that you are teaching. That can also be what's going on for Cancer risings. So step up as a leader with this final eclipse. It's going to happen anyway. You may as well own it, Cancer, and go in a bold new direction. Be somebody that you want to be. Be the change that you want to see in the world. So move deliberately is what I would say. For Leo and for Leo rising, this eclipse is happening in your 9th house. You've been having these eclipses here. This is the final one in terms of your belief systems or travel that you have wanted to do. Now you might be able to finally do it and let go of what's going on in your local community and be able to take those trips that you want to take and go to the places that you want to go. Now, the other thing that's going on here is that there could also be a breakdown happening in terms of your worldview. You're looking at the world through a different lens now than you were 2 years ago. There's something that has shifted in your ideologies. There's something that has shifted in terms of how you view who you are in the larger world around you. That's for all Leo risings in general, but for you specifically, the stellium that's happening in the 8th house and the changes that are happening now between your money, the money that you're bringing in, and money that you are connected to either through a spouse or through a debt, a loan, something like that. This is also a place of karma. The 8th house, where Saturn, Neptune, the North Node, and Venus currently are at this eclipse, is saying that you really need to reevaluate and come to terms with any karmic debts that have to do with your career and public reputation, any karmic debts that have to do with the locale of where you're living, neighbors, the neighborhood that you live in, the people that you connect with in your neighborhood, as well as siblings, aunts, uncles, things like that, cousins. There could be some things going on in their lives that are very traumatic or very intense, right? Now, for you specifically, this could show up as money issues with a spouse or with a significant other or through a business partner. There's money that might be changing, or there's money that's coming in through an outside source that could be changing. And especially with Saturn having transited here for the last few years, partners, resources, like spouse, business partners' resources could have been limited in the capacity to nourish you, right? Just because if you have any Pisces placements, that could be changing, but it's also going to be a reality shift. It's about owning and not idolizing and facing reality as it stands, not as you wish it would be. So for Virgo and Virgo rising, the eclipse itself is happening in your 8th house. And so we've had I'm not a Virgo, guys. For Virgo and for Virgo rising, with this eclipse happening in your 8th house, there's been a lot of disruption and a lot of mayhem as it relates to the income that you have had coming in, right? Virgo rising specifically, as Libra is your second house, with the South Node having transited there and eclipses being there, and then the North Node transiting the eighth house. So there has been more of a reliance, I would say, on resources coming in either through a spouse, through loans, through mortgages, through different ways of making money. Could be stock market and all of that as well. But with this final eclipse, that's all coming to an end. There will be less of a need to rely on what's going on here and more of a need to focus on your relationships, on the one-on-one connections that you have, whether or not this is your spouse, whether or not this is a business partner, whether or not you have to take on a business partner to be able to accomplish the hopes, wishes, and dreams and future goals that you want to accomplish. Because the ruler of this eclipse in your eighth house is in the 11th. Are you working towards your goals and your aspirations the way that you want to? Or do you need a partner in order to make that happen? What is the karmic debt that you have been accruing over the last 2 years that may possibly need to be paid back? This is about reassessing trust and finances and financial entanglements and unraveling the complexities, right? And connecting with people in a different and in a more authoritative way. That doesn't mean be a tyrant. That just means you need to probably take the lead as it relates to connecting with the people that you want to connect with. Because right after this eclipse, your chart ruler is moving from the eighth house back into the seventh with Neptune, with Venus, with Saturn, and the North Node. So there's a need to be more responsible with the people that you connect with on a one-to-one level. Okay. For Libra and for Libra rising, the eclipse itself is happening in your seventh house. And so this has to do with relationships, your one-on-one connections, your clients, your friendships, those individual people that you connect with because you really truly care and they've been around for a long time for you, spouse, partner, those types of things, long-term partnerships, business partnerships, contracts themselves, as it relates to contracts that you sign on the dotted line for, whether or not this is a loan, whether or not this is for business, whether or not this is for personal. If you're signing something, it's a seventh house topic. So for this, there could be a shift in partnerships. There could be a shift in relationships with people on that one-to-one level. And what's going on is that this change might push you to define your boundaries as it relates to the routines and the daily life that you live, right? This could also be working on health things with these planets here in the sixth house, Saturn, the North Node, Venus, and then subsequently Mercury and Neptune all being here. There could definitely be working on boundaries as it relates to your clients, boundaries as it relates to your significant other, boundaries as it relates to contracts and agreements, boundaries as it relates to your health, wellness, and well-being as well. So there could be some shifts and some changes that are happening there and new beginnings as it relates to how you're relating to the people in your daily life as well. Now, with Mars being the ruler of this eclipse, being up in your 10th house, this could be a change in your status out in the world. Are you getting married? Are you getting divorced? Are you changing jobs? Are you changing locations? What are you doing for work, right? These could all be things that are going on for you. For Scorpio and for Scorpio rising, the eclipse itself is happening in your sixth house. So this is the house of health, of routines, of daily work, of food, right? Of your coworkers, your subordinates, right? All of these things. This eclipse could be bringing in someone or something to your daily life and routine. Someone could be coming in here. Now, with all of the planets too, because Mercury is going to be moving back into Pisces in your fifth house. We have the North Node, we have Neptune, we have Venus, and we have Saturn all here in the fifth house just prior to this eclipse, right? Moving towards Aries. What could be going on is that there is something that needs to be looked at as it relates to your creativity, as it relates to your romantic life, as it relates to your self-expression, as it relates to, you know, the people that you care about in terms of children, right? There could be something going on with your children if you have children, but there also needs to be some type of boundary here in terms of your creative expression and hobbies. And it could be something that is going on with your health as well, that kind of sparks this need to put boundaries on creative projects. Also, too, with this final eclipse being in your sixth house, there could definitely be some changes that are going on in your daily life, in your routines, as it relates to the hobbies that you have and the things that you love to do just because you love to do them. So with it spanning these two houses for you in terms of the planetary alignments and the eclipse itself, as well as the nodes, there's this crossover that's happening. So there will be blurred lines. There will be things going on that you're going to have to reevaluate, but that will be coming to an end in terms of your health, your wellness, your daily routines, your colleagues, your coworkers, the people that work for you, as well as your health. Maybe even the food that you've been eating could be changing as well. For Sagittarius and Sagittarius rising, the eclipse itself is happening in your fifth house. So this has to do with creativity and romance and self-expression for you, and moving in a way that you're expressing yourself in a much more autonomous way, where you're going to express yourself and be who you are unapologetically. With Aries as a fifth house, I would definitely say that you're unapologetic with who you are anyway, but there's this need for freedom in self-expression. There's this need to be who you are no matter what with that fifth house there. This could also be a movement towards something that you find creatively fun and enjoyable. This could be a new love interest that comes in, right? But there's also something going on here in the fourth house. And so this fourth and fifth house part of your chart, right? It's all these planets and the eclipses are concentrated in this small area of your chart that spans these two houses for you as it relates to your home, property, family, your parents' lives, right? Or the people that you live with in general, or it could just be straight up the house that you live in. With Saturn here, Neptune, Venus, and then Mercury just after this eclipse moving in, there could definitely be some things going on the home front in the private sector that need to be reevaluated. There needs to be more boundaries, more solid things put into place in order for you to be able to express yourself and have the fun that you really want to have. Because right now with Saturn here in the fourth house, this is a very burdensome fourth house for you. It could be that a property or someone living with you is bringing you down. It could be that there are other people too, like your parents. Maybe there's something going on in their life that's limiting your interaction with them, and you really want to connect with them again, or the reverse could be happening, right? You could be deciding, nope, I want no contact with my parents anymore. It's been too much for me. This property is too much for me. I don't want it anymore. Living in this house is too stifling. I don't want it anymore. And there's a need and a desire to move forward in order to have the creative freedom and the fun that you want to have. So there are things there on that cusp of the fourth and the fifth house that need to be evaluated and taken care of. So for Capricorn and Capricorn rising, the actual eclipse is happening in your fourth house. And so this is about your home, your family, your place of dwelling. This could be your parents or your parents' lives. This could also be your foundations and where you come from. And so for this eclipse to happen in your fourth house, it's been happening for the last couple of years, but this is the final time this is going to happen for the next 9 years. Final time a North Node eclipse is happening for the next 18 years. So what's going on here is that there could be unexpected changes going on in your living situation or in your family dynamic or in the life of one of your parents or both of your parents. And there's responsibilities that are going on that feel really kind of heavy, in terms of maybe siblings or siblings' lives as well. Maybe you're not able to connect with your siblings because Saturn is transiting, right? So we have the eclipse in your fourth house, but we have Saturn back here in the third house and all of these planets in between Saturn and this eclipse. So with Venus, with Mercury, with the North Node, with Venus, Mercury, North Node, and Neptune, all here at the end degrees and very beginning degrees of Pisces and Aries, this could mean that there's some communication that feels really heavy, really burdensome, and there's communication that's going on that is having you look at and reevaluating what's going on with your home or what's going on with your parents, or maybe there's a conversation that's going on. And maybe you're the one that's initiating the conversation with Saturn here. Maybe you're the one that's been initiating these hard conversations as it relates to your siblings, as it relates to your cousins, as it relates to the people that you're talking to on a daily basis. This could be that. The eclipse that's happening in the fourth house means that something new is coming in, right? This isn't something that is, it could be something out of the blue, but it's more something that you really wanted to work towards. And so maybe with all of these planets here, it's finally coming to fruition. For Aquarius and for Aquarius rising, this eclipse is happening in your third house of communication, learning, local environment, of education, of, you know, your commute to and from work every day. So this could be a new vehicle. This could be communication coming in from siblings or something happening in the life of a sibling. This could even be cousins or extended family members as well. This could also be a conversation or a message or even a revelation as it relates to a change in your perspective. So listening to what's going on and all of that would be good for you. Now, what's going on in your second house, right, is also part of this configuration. We have Saturn, we have Neptune, we have the North Node, we have Venus, and then we're going to have Mercury, all back here at the end degrees of Pisces, with this eclipse happening in the beginning degrees of Aries. So there's turnover here as it relates to money matters, money that you have coming in, money that you're saving, money that you're spending. There could be some things going on in terms of there's a limit in funds that have been going on, and now there's something new coming in terms of communication. Maybe you have to buy a vehicle. And if this happens, that's what happens, right? There, it could be that you have to buy a vehicle because your vehicle dies. That could be something very simple. All right, so for Pisces and for Pisces rising, the actual eclipse is happening in your second house. And so this could be new financial shifts or reevaluation of personal values. This could be what you thought you needed may no longer resonate, or what you've been spending money on may no longer resonate with you. You could be changing how it is that you're spending or making money. You could be changing what it is that you're purchasing or what it is that you're hoarding. I like to call the second house the hoarding house. But this is going to be up to you, because with Saturn, Venus, the North Node, and then after this eclipse, Mercury, all there in your first house, all of this is up to you to take hold of, to seize. With Saturn having been transiting your sign specifically for the last couple of years, you have had to grow up. You have had to be more authoritative. You have had to take on the role of being your own authority. You have had to take on the role of, no, I am not going to do this anymore. This is your responsibility, not mine, right? Because Saturn is a planet that says no. But also, too, it could be that you've been feeling limited in some way, shape, or form. Now, with all of this happening, there could be a need to reevaluate and to talk about what's been going on with you, whether or not that's with friends, whether or not that's with other people that are around you. There could be other things going on here too. But you are changing and you have changed and you're going to continue to change, right? Now, as it relates to your finances, there's definitely illusion versus reality, as it relates to finances and the value that you put on the money that you're making or not. So that is what is happening. That is what I have for you. Please like, share, subscribe if you enjoyed this, and I hope to see you next time. Bye, everyone.